Okay, y'all, so today's Saturday. It rained all night. It rained a lot of the morning. So I'm going to do a quick little video today over, big properties versus small properties. And then we'll touch on weekly versus bi-weekly. So I personally like the bigger properties better. And I'm going to tell you why. Well, number one is when I started the business, that was the kind of properties I was getting, right? So I bought mowers for bigger properties, which, 60-inch mowers. And I tend to like the bigger properties because a lot of times the bigger properties, can't just anybody cut the bigger properties and make money at it. So, but I can go cut smaller properties and make money at it. See? That's the biggest thing that I see, and it's it's not a dig at anybody for doing smaller properties. I've always done the work that's come. I have always done the work that comes my way, whatever that may be at the time. And when you're starting out, you don't really know what kind of work or what kind of customer you're going to get, or what kind of properties you're going to get, or anything. You don't know. You're just trying, at least for me, I was just trying to survive, and I was taking every property. But in the course of that, I found that the bigger properties, for me, were better for what I like to do. The smaller properties usually require a little more manual labor. And this is just my opinion, and based on some of my experiences with the smaller yards. In the beginning, I would do every yard. But then I found that the smaller yards don't value me as much because, well, they got, 2,000 square feet, and anybody can cut that, right? You don't have to have no special equipment or nothing. But can't just anybody go cut 5 acres or 4 acres and make money at it. Anybody can cut it, but can they do it in a time and fashion and make money at it? Well, maybe so, maybe not. But I've also found that customers, small property customers, they're a lot more picky, right? They're a lot more hands-on, if you will. Maybe not all of them, but in my experience, most of them are. And another thing I don't like about doing small properties is they're up in the neighborhoods and there's no place to park. Another thing I don't like about small properties is, the competition is fierce, and you'll lose a property over $5. I just don't like working in those confined areas. I'm not saying I won't, but it's not something that I'm looking for. Somebody could call me from some of the neighborhoods, and I'm not going up in the neighborhood. I'm not even going to go look at them. Now used to I would. That's just a couple of things about the small properties that I don't like versus the big properties. The big properties are usually wide open space, plenty of parking, not as much detail. You don't have, Johnny homeowner peeking out the window at you, or Karen homeowner peeking out the window at you, watching the clock. You don't have the neighbor peeking out at you, making sure you ain't blowing grass into his part of the yard or whatever. And there's plenty of parking. So some things that I would like about the smaller properties is, number one, you can do a bunch of them on one street, and you might make, you might be able to make a little bit more money if you got the right equipment. But I would imagine, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that the turnover rate of the smaller properties is a lot higher than the bigger properties. And when I say bigger properties, I'm talking about north of 3 acres or more, right? So a lot of times the homeowners in the neighborhoods and I don't mean to stereotype nobody, but they're a little bit picky because, you know, they feel like we're just cutting grass, and they used to do it themselves, and now that I got too old to do it, and now they want me to do it like they would do it, and that usually becomes a problem. And sometimes in the neighborhoods, the smaller neighborhoods, you can get in good with some of the homeowners, you know, but I have found that the detail and everything for what I like to do, and this is just for what I like to do, I'd much rather be on the wide open areas. So some good things about, another good thing about the smaller properties is that everything's condensed pretty good, you know, for the most part. You don't have to drive far between jobs, you know, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong too, you know, sling a rock and hit somebody's house, or, you know, but you can do that anywhere. What I like about the big properties is there's usually not as much detail. And I guess I don't like having to move the truck around. I don't like having all these people walking by my truck and all that stuff. I like to go to one spot and park and then mow 10 acres without even having to get off the lawnmower in a lot of situations. You're not going to do that in the smaller property neighborhoods. You're going to have to weed eat, edge, blow, and all that. A lot of the bigger properties, we don't even have to, I mean, we don't even have to blow them off. And some of them, we can even get away without weed eating. I mean, that's a factor, because I don't care what anybody says out here in YouTube land, you're never more efficient in any part that you do than when you're on a lawnmower. That's the most efficient you can be, especially the mowers that I got. And I have all 60-inch mowers, and I got a couple of them 30-inch commercial mowers. But I can run this whole business on 60-inch mowers. So I like that. Of course, I got all sit-down mowers, so they're better for the big acreage too. And I have found, and it's probably not always true, but I have found that people that's got big acres, 5, 10 acres or whatever, they appreciate you a lot more than the 2,000 square foot guy. So they're not as likely to fire you. You can get fired from any job, but the big acre properties are not as likely to fire you. Well, why is that? Because they know to replace me with 3 mowers, a guy with 3 mowers that he can dedicate to that property, that wants to do that property, that can make money at that number on that property, they few and far between, and that can consistently come, and that has time to do it. Because a lot of them are hung up doing, you know, smaller properties or whatever. And I like doing the big ones if I had a choice. Of course, I have to do neighborhood stuff too. There's some neighborhoods in my area I won't even entertain doing, because I know it's going to be problems. You know, I've had, you know, I used to have more small properties than I got now, but I've kind of veered my business over to the bigger properties as I've grown. And you know, can you make more money or less money? I don't know. Yeah, probably in some areas you can do pretty good with the small properties if you can deal with the headache of the customers and all the parking issues, and, you know, the neighbors and all that. If you can deal with all that, you could probably do pretty good. I'd just rather not. And I can make more money and be happier. And that's very important. And be happier on the bigger cuts. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. And there's, you know, there's not a dig at anybody that does, you know, smaller properties. I do smaller properties too, but I prefer not.